Hello. I am sat right now in my dining room because my studio space is currently kind of in flux. We've moved our bed from where our studio currently is down into like a crawl space. I have been spending a lot more intentional time reading like more Substack articles and just like trying to spend time in some books and really just slowing down with the media that I'm consuming. And one of my favorite recent Substack finds is Kel Rakowski's Substack Popular. And Kel recently put out a list of her 10 creative rules for work. And this particular set of rules was inspired by Sister Coretta Kent's rules for creative work, which I've seen a lot on Pinterest, like in various places, so it was kind of cool to see it show up on Kel's Substack. She also put out a follow-up article, or I think it came after, basically outlining how you could go about making your own. So I decided to make my own rules for creative work, and these were things that I really needed to hear. Stuff that I kind of have been doing unspoken, but I had never really codified, and I guess the ritual of making a set of rules was really kind of powerful and gratifying as an artist to try to give myself some more structure. So without further ado, I'm going to go into my 11 rules for creative work. So the first thing on the list is to start every day with a to-do list. I keep just a notebook for my daily to-do list. I use a Hobonichi, and I essentially just use like the blank space. I don't use all of the calendar, but I'll write down in a list very like matter-of-factly what it is I can do for the day. I'm honest with myself about what that is. Some days it's just get up, take a shower, brush my teeth, sketch in my sketchbook, and other days I have really hard deadlines and structures that I'm trying to hold myself to that I will put down in there. And so the fun of it is, if I start the day and I think my capacity is just get out of bed, go to my day job, I will write that down, and then if I come home and find that I'm more motivated to do more than that, I will do it, and then I try to actually go back and write down all the extra things that I did. So if I ended up getting in an extra few pages done of penciling, then I'll write down what I did. And that's just a really nice sort of like trick for my brain to show myself what I can actually do in a day. And so I find that as I keep up with this practice, my lists end up getting longer and I check them off. And I'm gentle with myself about when the lists are shorter and just try to stay flexible. So the to-do list every day keeps me on the straight and narrow, keeps me organized with my projects, and so that is a non-negotiable rule for my creative work. Number 2 for me is to do the hard things first. I identify the most annoying, grueling task for the day or for the project, and I try to go straight for it. Once I finish doing the first difficult task, it definitely makes me feel like everything else is a walk in the park. So that is a really good rule. I don't always follow this rule, but I find that it's really helpful when I'm feeling super overwhelmed to go in and do the hardest thing first. Rule number 3 is for me to lock my phone in another room, in a drawer, in a box, just like something else. I try to get it as far away from me as possible. And I only check it at designated break times. And only for a limited time. So trying to set like 15 minutes of phone time in between hitting a milestone of what I have to do in my like creative day, because it's so easy and tempting to fall into a tunnel on social media, as we all know, or even something that I feel like is helpful and just like doing a little research turns into hours and hours of procrastination, which actually leads into my next rule, rule number 4, which is to designate time for inspiration and time for making. These are very different activities, and for me, if I don't set an intention on what kind of time I'm going to spend at my desk, the inspiration gathering and the idea generation period can go further than the actual execution or the making. I have so many things that I've started, sketches, starts of manuscripts that have not been fulfilled because I am still caught up in the inspiration phase, and I really need to be spending time in the making phase. So that is a huge rule for me that I am trying to implement even further into my practice and daily approach to things. Number 5 is to finish the sketch or draft before I judge anything. And so I will often stop short of an idea, and so a rule that I'm implementing for myself now is to, even if it seems like I'm making it up or I don't exactly know where it's going to land, try to get it from start to finish. And so this is huge when it comes to working on manuscripts, especially for children's books that tend to be a little bit shorter. And so it's so easy for me to start a sentence or start with an idea and not feel like it's I don't know where to take it next exactly, and so I just stop and I don't. And so I really want to make it a rule that I make a good run to go start, middle, and end, and just see how far I can get, even if it doesn't make sense, and don't edit myself too early. And I think the same goes for my illustrations. I'm pretty loose when it comes to sketching, but I can get in my own way about colors or the exact composition. And so I think I really want to make a point to finish the sketch all the way through, finish the draft all the way through before I'm judging anything, so that it can at least exist. And on that, with the sketching and writing, my rule number 6 is to iterate. And so not only am I seeing it through, but seeing it through a few times if necessary. And so I'm trying not to be too precious and allowing myself to push and pull the idea in different directions. Even if one of them doesn't look like my taste, I can just start over. I think it's so easy to feel like, well, as soon as I write it down or draw the picture, it becomes really real. But the reality is, even though we are talking about a list of hypothetical rules, the rules can be changed, and there really are no rules when it's just you and your work. You can always try again. You can make something that no one will ever see, and it helps you ultimately get to that version that feels really good and satisfying because you've worked through and you've started to do some of the problem solving. Rule number 7. To collect every fleeting idea. This one I follow pretty well. I like to jot everything down, or I'll text something to myself, or I'll throw it in like a note app. I'm trying to get into the habit of keeping a sketchbook, like a little sketchbook on me, so I can doodle. Just like sometimes I'll get these flashes of images and I just want to get the basic shapes of what I've pictured out, and just making a point to put that down. I think I churn through a lot of different ideas generally, and so there's so many bits and pieces of things that I've thrown into a notebook or a sketchbook that have turned into like complete finished and really big projects for me that have come from just a little crumb of work that I have sitting around. So collecting every idea. It's also really nice to curate these later, so I'll just collect, and then when I have a chance, whether it's physically or digitally, I will organize those ideas that I have and just keep them stashed so I can come back later when I'm feeling like I want some inspiration. I can pick my own brain as a starting place for ideas and projects and where to take it next. Number 8 is to make something even if you're not very good. I personally really struggle with this one, but this is a new rule that I'm implementing for myself, which is to get out of my own way, especially when it's something new, and try to enjoy the process of trying and seeing what my best at the time really looks like. I think I really get in my own way about being new at something and not trying it out because I don't like the look of it on the first try, but then the gag is that I'll never get better if I don't try doing it a few times, and it's not going to look very good. And again, nobody has to see it, or better yet, show it and sort of remove some of that pressure and stigma around things just looking a little wonky or not being perfect at it the first time around. So definitely following through on making things even when I'm not very good at it, because it's fun. That's what I'm here for. It's to make things. Number 9 is if I feel excited about something, that is reason enough to do it. So this one pairs really well with my last rule. Really that like you don't need an excuse to make something, and I find that I'm my happiest when I am just following those impulses with no real plan for exactly where it's going to appear or how it's going to function, and just enjoying myself. Rule number 10 is to participate in life and just spend time noticing things. This is something I've heard all of my role models say, but you have to live your life to make art. And so I really do make time to spend time with friends, spend time consuming like books and TV shows and movies, and also just like staring up at the ceiling. I think it's also really lovely to be in New York City, but wherever you are, there's inspiration. And I think just spending time off of your phone, looking and embracing like what it is that's actually happening around you, as inspiration, even if it's subconscious, for something later. There's so many shapes and scenarios or conversations that will make its way into some dialogue, or there's something that I'm writing, or will make its way into like a sticker design or a little doodle that finds its way in the background of one of my books. So it's all good to do, and I think showing up in your life as just a person helps you to become a better artist as you grow in your own practice. Then rule number 11 is to use up all of your art supplies. I have so much art supplies, and it is my goal this year and for years to come to use it all up before I buy anything completely brand new in the same category. So I think like I should not be buying any more watercolors. I should not be buying any more pencils. I really shouldn't be buying any more paper. And so I really want to make a point to go through all of the supplies that I have. I think there is definitely a lot of lore of like, oh, if only I had this particular item, I could make this particular art. But I actually think that gets in the way of just playing. And I have so many supplies that I've hoarded over the years, and I think it would actually be really fun to just like challenge myself to use them all and see what I can make with that. Most of my work now is very digital with picture books and graphic novels and whatnot. So I think it could actually be really fun to use my supplies physically just and see what I come up with. So that sums up all of my rules for a creative work. That's 11. I think the fun of this is that you can come back and add or take away whenever you feel like the rules need to change because they're your rules. And also, rules is a very light word. These are just guiding principles to keep you on the straight and narrow with your work when you feel like you need a little bit of extra structure. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.